Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Cornerstone Retirement Partners presents Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser and Nolan Gosley. Cornerstone Retirement Partners are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement with Certified Financial Planner, CFP, Ron Corser, Grand Rapids, your resource for a common sense approach to planning for our financial, our investment, our retirement futures. He is providing the guidance, the insight, the perspective that we all need to navigate, make a little sense of this crazy financial world. And Ron, we always appreciate that perspective. Welcome back into the program.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody listening to today's program. Today, I have a topic, and actually it's a theme we're just going to go through. It's called Help. I'm afraid to retire, even though I can afford to do it. So why would I talk about that? It's kind of interesting because more and more, I mean, it's not the majority of the people I talk with, either our clients or new people I meet. But when it comes to this whole idea about retiring, there's some interesting patterns or discussions that are going on. And one of them says basically, you know, since the day I got my first job, I've been saving for retirement, putting as much away as I can, kind of get a bigger and bigger and bigger number. And then as I'm getting closer, then I start to worry about, do I have enough? And then I figure out I have enough. And here comes the real kicker. Can I really retire? I mean, retirement is more than just about money. It really is. And so we're going to spend a little time. I'm going to share a couple things with you. And when it comes to this whole retirement thing, when it talks about, say, the non-money things, issues, what am I going to do? How will I spend my time? All those kinds of things. I think it's a little more difficult for single people, either widows or widowers. But I particularly see that with widows, because we think about it. If they've never been married, they're used to just being on their own. But for a lot of folks, they've been married, their husband dies, and they're faced with this thing called retirement, either because they were in it and their spouse passed away, or they're just getting close to it and the spouse passed away. So it's a really interesting comment, because the issue is, will I be able to retire? Will I be able to enjoy it? And one of the interesting things, I'll share a little comment I had. An idea that came out really talking to a client of mine. We've been doing the retirement planning for years, and she's done an excellent job of it. She and her husband did it well, and then he passed away, and we continued doing the right kinds of things for her. She has her number, and remember what we talk about on this program. The number is not your lump sum. The number is she has enough income coming in retirement to retire, because the key in retirement is always income. It's not the lump sum. So she has her number. And now we've been talking about what she's going to do. And she went from kind of excited, but as I listened to her more and more and more, there was some doubt that crept in. And there was a pause, and she says, you know, I've been working all my life with my husband, even after he passed away, saving, putting all the money away, hiding it every which way, in the freezer, under the mattress, in the bank, in stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And I've been playing this for years. And now I'm faced with the idea of, now I have to take money out of this thing. And I said, we have worked on this for the last few years. We created an income plan for you. You're going to be okay. But that wasn't her real question. Her real question was, how am I going to feel about taking money out of my life savings? That's a whole different creature. That's a whole different animal to talk about. And she went on to say, you know, she spent all this time dreaming about what she's going to do. And she's thought about, because she's the only one really left in Michigan, her kids, extended family, and other places, she gave a lot of thought to moving closer to her children, also in a place where there's warm weather and no 20 below zero winters, which always makes sense to me. Every year, I got to say this, every year winter becomes a little less wonderful, but I'm not going to leave Michigan because I don't think I'm old enough to go to Florida, and I don't like hurricanes. So, and they got big snakes down there too. I've seen them, and it just doesn't work for me. But anyhow, back on this. She says, I don't know what to do. I've talked to my children about that, and they have their own lives to live. So when I go visit them, she said, we have a good time. We spend a lot of time together. But the idea of living close to them, which kind of makes some sense to her, she's starting to realize that they're not going to treat this as if she's just down here for a couple of weeks visiting his grandma. So that's created a little bit of stress in her life as to what to do, because it's a major change in lifestyle. So she's kind of put everything on hold and reevaluating everything. And I told her very clearly, number one, you have enough money to retire. You have enough income in retirement to retire. So that's not the key issue right now. The key issue is, yes, you're going to have to take some out of your life savings, but what are you going to do? Because you're going to leave your job about 26 years at the end of this year. And so that's what we've been mulling over. That's what we've been trying to work through. And I think she's getting to the point where she's of the opinion that she'll stay in Michigan and maybe just go hang out with kids or friends in the wintertime wherever it's warm, but not be extended forever locked into that. And when I know her very, very well, I think she's making a good decision. She's a strong lady, and she has an independent streak about her too. But family is very important to her. So one of the ways that we can help people manage through these feeling kind of emotional things, which are just as important as the money, they really are, is to make sure that we have an income plan in place, and we'll talk more about that. But also just for us to listen and help articulate what I think they're saying so we can kind of see the words and feel for them. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're contemplating retirement and some uncertainty is coming into your thought process and you're wondering, wow, can I really do this? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to have enough? All of those questions, give us a call at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. That's the name of our company. It's a new name now, but it's Cornerstone Retirement Partners. Our phone number is 616-301-2581. Give me a call. We can sit and chat and work through all of these things. They're important because retirement is not just about saying, okay, this Friday is my last day of work. I'm going to leave, empty out my desk, and then I'm going to go do stuff. It really takes a little more planning than that. And we can help. It's not just the money that's important. It's how we're going to live in retirement that's also important. And the money kind of plays into that.
Well, again, if you would like to reach CFP certified financial planner Ron Courser at Cornerstone Retirement Partners to get a better answer on if you are ready to retire, or even if you're pretty well prepared, just to have some added confidence in making that transition. It's all about that plan, and Ron and the team there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners will put that course to retirement plan together for you. 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, I was once talking to some pretty astute planners, pretty savvy investors. They had built up a net worth, mostly in retirement accounts, of over $2.5 million. And they felt pretty confident in making that transition to retirement. But the gentleman said to me, and I thought this was a pretty enlightened comment. He said, the moment that I begin to see that account balance start to decline rather than to grow, and I'm not earning a paycheck, I'm going to feel anxious. I'm going to be uneasy. And he said, my goal is to set up a plan to where the income need is covered so that I can continue to treat my investment capital like I always have when I had a paycheck, as an investment, rather than having to pull income from it. And I thought the fact that he was able to pinpoint it and state it in that language, again, made me feel like they were pretty astute in their financial goals and what they wanted to have happen in order to ultimately build that financial confidence for their situation.
And it is about confidence. It really is about not only feeling good, but knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what happens. That's the end result of really doing good financial income planning. It really is, because you've touched on something, and we do it here at our company at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. The first part of the retirement plan is, let's figure out where the income is coming from. You need an income plan, because if you have the income plan, it's not going to take all your money. So you're going to have the ability to have, say, another bucket with growth and things like that where you can feel confident. But there's a lot of things that go into this. So let's start to kind of jump in on it and say, how do we cope with this? Oh my goodness, I got enough money to retire, but now I'm not sure I really want to or feel good about it.
I hear the term cold feet when it comes to getting married and weddings. So they got a little bit of cold feet. Retirement is another one of those big lifetime decisions that we make, that we jump into, and it forever kind of changes our status. And I think that feeling of cold feet, nervousness, it may be something that retirees feel, or those nearing retirement begin to feel as well.
I think so. You know, I go back to a couple clients that we have that are highly educated professionals. They're both doctors. I'm thinking of two of them. And as a doctor, you're put on a pedestal, aren't you? I mean, we do that. We put our priest, the CPA, the lawyer, and the doctor on this pedestal, that they're the ultimate go-to people. So they spend all their life being the ultimate go-to authority on certain matters. And all of a sudden they realize that if they stop working, part of their identity goes away. Part of the identity issue, particularly for guys, you know, I joke with my wife and sometimes with some of the ladies who come in with their husbands and we do reviews. You know, we as men are fundamentally strange. We are fundamentally stupid, I think, sometimes, but we don't know it. And I always tell my wife, Nancy, I understand that what I'm doing is dumb, but, you know, it seems to fit my personality. Please help me. I've fallen, I can't get up, kind of a situation. But part of that, of who we are, has to carry into retirement. But it's very difficult at times, I think, if we've worked all of our life and we've been in charge of things, to move into retirement. So one of the key issues, and one of the best ways to deal with this, is to slow down perhaps at work, to do just a little bit less, to get used to the idea that you don't have to work 60 hours a week. That's not normal. Let's see if you can do 40. And it's difficult. It is truly difficult. Particularly for guys who are, you know, we've been raised, I was raised, you just work. That's what you do. That's what a guy does. Take care of your family and work. So one of the steps to kind of preparing for retirement is to see if you can slow down just a little bit. Is it possible with your employer, if you're employed and not self-employed, to move away a little bit and take a little more vacation time, or take a long weekend here and there, do things that are totally out of the ordinary. And it's harder to do than most people believe. It really is, particularly if you're a small business owner. That is really difficult to do then, because you assume that if you leave the office, the world comes to a screeching halt. That's not true, but that's just the way it is. So working part-time can be a really wonderful way to ease into retirement. We have a lot of clients who they built up a wealth of knowledge and experience. And employers don't really want to lose that. You know, we know that, for example, in our society today, it's easier to get rid of some grumpy old men, so to speak, who have a wealth of experience in problem solving and what's going on, and replace them with 2 or 3 younger people that you pay less. But some employers are smart enough to understand you don't want to lose that experience. There's something really profoundly wonderful about it.
They know where the skeletons are buried, and they know how everything operates. I mean,
they do.
The knowledge base that is being lost as more people transition to retirement really is what made companies prosperous for decades.
Yeah, I had one client who worked at a large company, and he had worked there for over 30 years, and he was very familiar with the old giant computer system of zeros and ones. And then they changed to this new computer system. It turned out he was the only one in the entire, this was a big major company, who knew how that old computer system worked. So when he told him he was going to retire, they went into, this frenetic shock, running around backwards kind of thing. You can't leave, because nobody knew how to do this other computer system. So he eventually just became a part-time employee in retirement who's responsible for the old system, because they never transferred a lot of the data over. So there is a lot to be said there. Another step people can take is, I call it, try it before you buy it. Sometimes people will say, when I say, well, tell me about your retirement dream or plan. Well, we're going to go to Florida. Have you been there before? Well, we went there once 4 years ago. We're going to go buy a place. Where are you going to buy it? Probably by Orlando, Disneyland. My response generally to that is, how about if we just go a little slower? How about if you want to live in Florida, you take a couple of years to go down there in the wintertime or the summertime and just hang out, rent a place. See if you like it. See if the neighborhood fits you. See if the neighbors fit you. Make sure that whatever you're doing makes sense. A long time ago, and make sure if you buy something, you really do a good job getting somebody to inspect it. A long time ago, I had a client who retired. They had done well in life. They went down to Florida and they bought a place that they actually were staying at for the winter, and they bought it. And then come to find out, about 6 months later, they found out that they had a real problem with the place they bought. It was just mildew all over the place. And that was an incredibly expensive procedure to try to fix. But see, they just jumped into it. They liked the area, seemed like a good idea at the time. So not only that, slow down at work, considering going to the buy and try kind of experience to see if you like it. Go to different states. And here's a third one, and a lot of this is not new, but try different things. Everybody retires and they think, well, the only thing I can do is the same thing I used to do. I can fish. That's true, but you can also do other things. A lot of people volunteer. A lot of people will try to do interesting things like learning how to paint, play pickleball. Pickleball's a big sport here in Grand Rapids for seniors. They find out it's fun and they can do it. So there's a lot of things that you can do. It just takes time to actually physically start to do them to see if you like it. So those are just some of the things when that idea comes in and says, you know what, this is the last year I'm going to work. I'm going to retire and everything's going to be hunky-dory, except you're probably going to have some moments when you question your sanity. You're probably going to have some moments when you question, oh, if I retire, that means I have to start spending some of my money I've saved. Well, I don't know how I feel about that. Well, we can help you through that. And we can help you try to figure out where you might like to live and things like that, because we've got clients all over the country. So if any of this is making some sense and you want to chat about it, in addition to just creating a solid retirement income plan in retirement, give us a call at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, 616-301-2581. 616-301-2581. We'd be more than happy to help walk through this, because it's an important decision. People don't really just retire and stay retired. Sometimes they get unretired for any number of reasons. And we can help make sure that if you get unretired, it's a really good reason, not, oh my goodness, we made a mistake in planning.
Early in the summer, Ron, when you go to the pool for the first time, you sort of dip your toes in the water first to make sure that it's not frigid, freezing cold before you jump all the way in. And
it always is.
Yeah, it always is.
It's always cold.
It always is. But you always got to test it first. And, I referenced marriage and getting cold feet about that. And we're making the parallel here to retirement. Marriage isn't the type of thing where you can just put your toes in the water to test it out. No. But retirement is something where we can sort of transition to it slowly and do a little bit of trial if we can figure out how to accommodate that. And I feel like maybe slowing down would be an easier transition to make, because a lot of people probably want to make some changes and do more of what they want to do rather than what they have to do. But not everybody's ready to just hang it up and do nothing and sit on the lazy boy. And even those who do like fishing, Ron, I mean, that's a lot of fishing time. We might not enjoy that much fishing as much as we thought we would.
Now, doing those things while you're working is always a vacation. Doing them because you don't have anything else to do can sometimes be a burden. So it is important. So always keep in mind, and the thrust of this beginning part of today's program is financial retirement issues. They're about money, and they're about the softer stuff, the emotional, the feeling part of it. And sometimes that's a little difficult for guys, but I'm a guy. I can help walk you through that because I've gone through those things. I always tell people the best excuse I have is to say something like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Not because it does or doesn't. I just don't want to deal with it. So we can help you, not only with the financial part of retirement, but the other part, the softer part, the things about what if, what about this, what about that, what are we going to do? And we do that not because we think we're so smart, but we've had a lot of clients that we've helped walk through this whole thing with. So we've got a little bit of understanding and knowledge, and maybe it could be helpful to you. So if you're interested in having that conversation, not only about how do we create an income plan in retirement, but what about the other things to consider, give us a call, 616-301-2581. That's Cornerstone Retirement Partners at 616-301-2581. Be more than happy to help you with this.
Well, again, you've got a resource, Grand Rapids, somebody who has seen many thousands of people and their different financial situations and helped many of those make that transition to retirement with that plan in place. And if you would like that course to retirement plan, a snapshot of where you are, a plan of action that addresses your investment, your income, your taxes, your healthcare, your legacy, pick up the phone right now and give Ron Corser at Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, as people are making this transition, you gave us some tips, some coping tips for getting ready to make that transition. But if we really have nervousness, have apprehension about retirement, and we see that out on the horizon as something that we intend to do, we plan to do, or that eventually we are going to have to do, we really need to get that plan together today, because at the root of it, at the source, that is the answer for coping with this anxiety of, am I ready to retire? Am I going to be able to do it? And once the plan is in place and the financial aspect is sort of taken care of, then we can deal with what we're talking about here, which is more the emotional, psychological standpoint of moving to retirement.
Yeah, it's really important to understand that there's more than just, say, one club in the golf bag of retirement that we need to exercise. Some of the things that go on, and people are starting to wonder if they've saved enough money for retirement, if they can retire. I get all of that. An Employee Benefit Research Institute came out with some interesting numbers last year. They said of all the people they surveyed that are getting ready to perhaps retire, only about 30% felt very confident. And 6 out of 10 said, man, this retirement thing is stressing me out. I get it. It's that important. It's that big a change. So I'm going to talk now about 6 things that came out of retirement planning at Kiplinger that they call retirement killers. I'm not sure they're killers, but they're things that we really need to be focused on to make sure that things go as well as possible. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. We have to understand that. But the more in depth, the more planning we can do, the better off we might be. So let's talk about, if we can, some of what we might call these retirement killers.
Let's get started on this list, Ron, and we've got to take a break here in just a couple minutes. So before we get into the list, I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if anything on this list does sound like it may apply to you, or you want to address them, get that course to retirement plan put together, pick up the phone, give Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. But let's get started on the list before the break, Ron.
Well, the big one the big one, it's not having a written income plan for retirement. That is a big one. Here's what I hear a lot when I talk with folks for the first time. And I ask them, tell me about your income plan in retirement. Well, I've saved $1 million. I figure I can take 4% out. That'll give me $40,000 a year. I think I can live on that with my Social Security because we don't live very high on a hog. And my only response to that is, well, what if something goes wrong? And they look at me, what do you mean if something goes wrong? Well, what if you have a market correction, you lose 20% of your retirement portfolio? And their response is, well, I don't want that to happen. And I say, I understand that. I'm not trying to ask this question to be harsh with you, but having an income plan, a written income plan, is more than just saying, I've got $1 million. I think I can take 4% off dividends, interest, and I'll be just fine. That's kind of winging it. It really is. We saw that in the great debacle of 2008. Unfortunately, things like that don't happen, every other year or so. But a lot of people who were just winging it were harmed dramatically. I know of some people that I've met later on who had to go back to work because they didn't have an income plan which would give them the income they need in retirement, regardless of what happened in the markets or where their investments were. So having a written income plan is like a compass. And I'll share an experience. Do we have time for this? You got to take a break.
Let's take the break. Let's come back. Let's talk about getting that compass and how the written retirement income plan really helps us to navigate that and find that direction.
All right.
But again, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like a course to retirement, if you would like your plan, including the element that is most commonly missing, the written retirement income plan, the element that's going to give you confidence in meeting the standard of living expenses and the lifestyle expenses in retirement and replacing that paycheck. That's part of the course to retirement plan, but also looks at your investments, your fees, your taxes, your healthcare, your legacy, all of that incorporated in the plan. Simple, easy to understand language, not 1,000 pages of financial jargon, but concise, consolidated, actionable steps that you can take in order to turn your goals into your retirement reality. Pick up the phone and give a call. Ron Corser and the team at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, happy to help you put that together, get that in place. Do so with no cost, no obligation. Similar reviews, similar plans. The time with a certified financial planner can easily go upwards of $1,000 to several thousands of dollars. Ron and his team willing to waive those charges as long as you are serious about your planning and your financial future. 616-301-2581. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about getting that compass for your retirement. And welcome back to the program. This is your course to retirement with Grand Rapids, resource for that common sense approach to planning that we need. He is CFP, Certified Financial Planner, Ron Corser from Cornerstone Retirement Partners. And Ron, I know that we are talking about 6 retirement killers. This is an article from Kiplinger magazine. And we were talking about the number one, not having a written income plan for your retirement life and projecting out into the future, showing us more than projections, what we can count and rely on and how to generate the income that we will need to be able to rely on throughout retirement. You were before the break talking about having that compass, having something that points us in the right direction. And I think that this income plan is probably pretty similar.
It is. And a good written income plan does 2 things for you. It tells you either have enough income in retirement to retire, or it says you're not quite there yet. You maybe need to work a little more, or save a little more. And whether you're 40 years old or 90 years old, if you come to us and you want an income plan, we can create one for you. If you're 40 years old, it might say, well, maybe we've got to work a little longer and save a little more. If you're 90 years old, that's a whole different creature. But having a written income plan is very much like learning how to navigate with a compass and topographical maps. So I'm going to share a little Army story. I was in the Army a long time ago. Now, when I was in the Army, that was so long ago that the Army was just transitioning away from muskets into something a little different. So, but one of the things I trained on was how to do compass navigation. That included reading a topographical map and learning about the compass. Now, here's a couple things I learned about myself, and I'm not out of the ordinary. Number one, my left leg is shorter than my right leg. Everybody's leg has one leg that's shorter than the other leg.
Yeah,
So
I have that as well.
Weird,
Yep.
you know?
About a quarter of an inch.
So what that does, that means it's impossible for me to walk a straight line, because over time, I will start to veer off to the left, even though if I think I'm going in the right direction. So one of the things they taught me is they taught us how to number the number of steps in 100 meters. And for me, over an average of 130 steps is 100 meters. So every time when I was learning this, I would walk 130 steps. I would count them, and then I would stop, and I would take 3 giant steps to the right of about 9 feet to correct myself. Now, how did I count my steps? I put rocks in my pocket. So if I was going to go 100 meters, I would have a rock for each 100 meters. So I knew that if at night I was taking out a squad or platoon and we were at night, and if I had to go 800 meters, I would have 8 rocks in one pocket, and every 100 meters, 130 steps, I would take a rock out and put it in the other one. So I learned how to do this at night, never got lost. I mean, I praise God for that. But I thought it was really important. I'm one of those guys, I always want to know where I am. I hate it when I don't know where I am. And in that environment, you really don't want to not know where you are. So I learned how to do that. An income plan is very similar in concept. An income plan teaches you how to generate income in retirement so that you can live a really nice retirement lifestyle. It's not any more complicated than that, although it's a little more sophisticated than that simple explanation. It teaches you, just like I learned how to navigate in the daytime, the nighttime, rainy time, any kind of time. It teaches you how to navigate all the different economic world things that we're going to face in retirement. Good times, bad times, good markets, bad markets, high interest rates, low interest rates, taxes, and all that stuff. So an income plan teaches you how to do that. And we can help you with that. We can create an income plan for you that'll work for you in retirement, because it's going to be based on you, not anybody else. And we can monitor that so that as we go forward, we make necessary adjustments, because we're going to have to make adjustments. Just like I can't walk a straight line. Plans don't work forever. They have to be adjusted. So we can help with that. So number one problem people face in retirement is not having a really good written retirement plan that gives you all the retirement income you need in retirement. It's number one. Number two, what could be that? Well, using the wrong investment return assumptions. I always ask folks when I meet them for the first time, going forward, what kind of rate of return would you be happy with if you could get it in this world for over the next 3, 4, 5 years? Some people say, well, if I could just get 2% over inflation, I'd be happy. I've had a couple of people say as high as 14%. And I don't ever criticize anybody. Whatever, it's your number. It is your number. But as we get into the income planning stage and we start to talk more, it becomes pretty obvious that perhaps counting on 14% for the next 5 years may not be the most sound assumption we could make. So maybe we have to peel it back. What's interestingly is that some people want to do that 4%. We've run into situations where people have saved enough in whatever their income requirements are. They really don't need to take 4% out of their income plan. They can take out less. They may have saved a lot more and they're able to do that. So what that does, you have to figure out what kind of rate of return, because you're really talking about how much risk do I want to take with my money in retirement? Yeah, we can shoot for gusto and go for 14%. That's not going to end well over time. I mean, it just isn't. So it's an important assumption to come to agreement is how much risk do I want to take to get the kind of return I think I need? So that's the second one, having an incorrect rate of return for your retirement. And just because your next door neighbor, your golfing buddy, uses 6% or 5%, they may not be appropriate for you because you're unique. Everybody listening to today's program is unique. There's no two people alike, so we can't do the same stuff with everybody. So if you really believe you're unique and you want to know how to navigate through retirement and create an income plan, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We can teach you how to read that retirement topographical map and do that compass thing, and you won't get lost even at night. So give us a call, 616-301-2581.
I think having that map to refer to is critical, so you know if you're on track or not. Because that's another way, Ron, where if you don't have that map to refer to, you could be off track and not know it. The GPS reroutes us back onto the appropriate way. If we miss a turn, if we get a detour in front of us, it'll get us back on track. But we don't have that yet for retirement. And so we really need to at least have the plan, the map, to know where we're starting and where we're trying to get to. And then we've got to do routine, regular checkups on that along the way. And I think that's where the correction, the course correction, the rock into the other pocket comes into play. For you, it was every 130 steps. For a retiree or an investor, probably at least once a year, we need to be checking up on progress to reroute or course correct if needed.
We do. I'm reminded of an experience I had. I went to visit a client. He was a doctor. I had met him up here in Michigan, and he went to a really small town in Missouri to practice. So we went down there to visit with his family. He was a friend and a client. And it started to get overcast and rainy, and I got turned around. So I stopped at this bar, and I said, I'm a tourist. I'm lost. This is where I'm trying to go. And the guy in the bar looked at me and he says, well, you want to go the easy way or you want the hard way? And, you know, what kind of question is that to ask somebody, right? That's like saying in retirement planning, you want to do this easy or hard? So I said, what I really would like is the simplest way. And he said, well, you just go down this road and you get the 249 route and then you go east. Now, I didn't have a compass. There was a rental car with no compass in it. I didn't know east from west because I didn't even know where the sun was. It was overcast and raining. I had no idea where east was. So I said, where's east? And he looked at me like, man, you're dumber than you look. And I said, I just don't know where east is. I can't tell. Please help me. He says, you go down about 2 miles and you go to your right. So, you know, if you don't have a plan and it's a little cloudy and rainy, how are you going to know where east is or west is or where you're going? So it's important to have that. It's important to make sure that we don't take on too much risk, because even in retirement, we want our money to grow. But the first and foremost goal of retirement is to make sure we have the income we need. So make sure that when you construct the portfolio, you really do understand how much risk you're taking on. And this is critical. When we create investment programs for folks, strategies, we're able to document how much risk they have. There's statistical measurements of risk. Because Peter, you could ask somebody like me, how much risk is in this thing? And I could say to you, well, not too much. You're diversified, it's not too much. And then my question to you would be, does that mean if the market corrects, I'm going to lose 5% or 55%?
Yeah.
It's an important question. So what we try to do, and it's part of our process, is we'll take somebody we meet for the first time or second time, and we'll do an analysis of the kind of risk they have in their current portfolio, statistical measurements of risk that everybody uses in our industry. And then we compare it perhaps with a suggested portfolio. Because sometimes what people find out, it's interesting, they either find out that they have too much risk that they're comfortable with, and I've even run into some things sometimes where people have so little risk in their portfolio that it's not growing the way they want to. So we try to actually measure risk, both stocks and bonds, so people know and they really understand what they own and how it's going to work. So those are three big things we've talked about so far.
Well, I've sort of thought of this in another way, Ron, and I reflect on my own situation like this. I think that, okay, next year when I'm reviewing my portfolio, and the market's down 50%. How much do I want to be down personally? And that's sort of how I gauge my risk, right? If I'm willing to take the full risk of the market, then I might be down 50% if that's what the market is reflecting a year from now. But that's not where I personally want to be. And it's if people really think about it, probably not where a lot of investors want to be either. And yet they are allocated, they're shooting for returns to beat the market index, not realizing that a year from now, if the market is down 50%, that's leaving them in a place where they could be down 50% or more in their portfolio, and then associate that percentage with the dollar value that you would actually lose and the time that it might take to make that up. And I think that that's a better way to look at this risk and reward. Two things that have sort of been combined in the financial jargon that really don't necessarily need to be and probably should be separated, Ron.
Well, a good way to get into that and have people understand it, and we do it. Let's say you have $1 million. I can ask the risk question: how much you're willing to lose if you stay fully invested? Are you okay if you lose 20%? And sometimes people say, that's kind of a lot, but I think I'm okay. Okay, let me put it in dollar terms. How would you feel if your account went from 1 million to 800,000? You just lost $200,000. And the response then becomes, oh, that's way too much for me. And see, that's an important response to the question. Percentages are kind of fluffy. They're not too meaningful at times, but actual dollar amounts can be very meaningful. A lot of times I'll hear people say to me, well, I don't want to lose a penny. And say, you know what? That's a really rational expression of how you want your money to work. But if you're going to be invested in the market, there's risks in everything. If you keep all your money in a 3-pound coffee can and bury it in the backyard, there's a risk to that. What is that? You go back 5 years from now, and inflation has taken away some of their purchasing power. But the real risk is that you develop some sort of dementia, forget where you buried it, and that's a total loss. So there's risk in everything. It just gets down to what kind of risk do I want to take into my retirement portfolio, and what does it look like? What does it really mean to me? And we can measure that risk. It's really important to get a measurement so you know what happens. So you know, for example, I have an account, for example, that has only half the risk of the market. When the market went down in 2020, in the first quarter, it went down 22%. Well, how did that particular investment work? Did it go down 11? Did it go down 15? No, it only went down 6. So it actually has less than market risk, and you're still making money. So these are the things we help people understand. That you're going to take risk in everything you do. Getting up in the morning is a risk. So we can work through that, and so you'll know what you own.
Well, again, that's part of the Course to Retirement plan, is taking a look at really all aspects of your plan, but your investments, your retirement accounts, your income, your assets, the taxes, the healthcare, the legacy, and bringing that all down to an understandable level based on where you are in your investment knowledge, so that you can have more confidence in knowing that you are making that progress moving forward and meeting benchmarks and milestones along the way that you set for your comfort level and your goals. And if you'd like to get that put together, pick up the phone, give a call to Cornerstone Retirement Partners, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, this article from Kipling, or the next one, I think it touches on something that we probably already covered a little bit in the first segment of the program, but not enjoying the activities in retirement as much as you thought you might. More of the mental, emotional, psychological aspect, but still something to consider in your retirement planning and progress.
Yeah, I tell the story, and it's a real one. I had a couple, they've since passed away. They had serious 7-figure money. They'd worked hard for it, scraped hard, did a great job investing. And the guy, Jake was his name, and his wife's name was Marge. And for about 2 years, they kept saying, we need to get a new car. We need to get a new car. And I would say to them, why don't you just go buy one? I don't know if we have enough money. I don't know if we can afford it. This went on, for about 2 years. And finally, we were sitting down doing a review one day, and I said, Jake, trust me, you got enough money to buy a new car and pay cash. It won't hurt anything in your financial life. And I think he kind of agreed. And he said, you think I can? I said, you absolutely can. Go buy a new car. Pay cash for it. That made him feel better because he didn't want to finance it. So I said, when you get the car, bring it around the office and let me see what it's like. So he brought it around. He brought a nice mid-sized car, did a good job. And the first thing he said to me, he said, Ron, I bought this car, but I didn't get the leather seats. That was too expensive. I just got cloth seats. And I said, Jake, you did a good job. Bless you. But see, that's an example. They had more money than they could ever spend in their lifetime. They ended up generally leaving it to their 4 children, which is something they really didn't want to do or not want to do. But they stopped doing things that might have brought them some comfort, some enjoyment the last 10 years of their life because they were always afraid about going broke. Now, they were Depression era kids and they suffered. So I got that. But at some point in time, you got to give yourself permission to say it's okay. It's okay to buy a new car. Or a lot of people say, I don't buy new, I buy used. That's fine. It's okay to get a different car. To get one that's less than 15 years old. It's okay, you can do that. So part of what we do to help clients, when they become clients, we create an income plan. It's to be able to say to them, yes, you can go out and buy another car. Yes, you can take a trip. Yes, you can do this. Here's where the money will come from. This is what will happen to your whole portfolio. And hopefully that can bring some peace of mind to people. So anybody listening to today's program, if peace of mind is high on your list when it comes to retirement planning, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. I'm Ron Corser. You can ask for me. You can ask for my partner, Nolan Gosley. All of us will help you every which way we can, and we'll do the best job possible for you so that you do have the peace of mind in retirement that's necessary. And it's important.
Your resource, Grand Rapids, the team there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. Again, they are available to you. Looking forward to hearing from you and helping and assisting in any way they can. 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. The next item on this list from Kiplinger, Ron, I found kind of interesting, and I bet a lot of people actually maybe fall into this one. But we do it out of love and the goodness of our heart. It's just something that can be detrimental to ourselves and to those, in fact, that we are caring about and caring for. The mistake is giving too much money to the kids. Have you seen this? And do you provide any recommendations on that? I imagine that would be a kind of a tough conversation to have with somebody that wants to do for their children.
I've had those conversations. You have to be gentle with people. And I understand it. I really do. We have clients who've given their kids a lot of money and paid for all of college, or had them sign a note saying, yes, mom and dad will pay you back. I always kind of smile about that. I had a prodigal child, and I'm probably the only one in Michigan that ever had a prodigal child, but we did. And I would joke and say, I used to do drive-by loans to her. And she would always say, oh, Dad, I just need a little bit. I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to pay you back. And I knew that never was going to happen. But I didn't want to get to the point where we subsidized her lifestyle at that time too much. Here's the issue. And my wife, Nancy, and I think this way. We are ultimately what we believe to be the last safe resort for our family, our children and grandchildren. We have to be reasonably healthy, physically, mentally, financially, so that if something goes wrong with our kids and my grandkids, I'm actually more concerned about my grandkids and my kids. There's a place where they can come and we can help get them through whatever's gone on. It can be any number of things. I mean, who would have thought some kind of little virus called COVID would have done what it's done to our country, along with the politicians and everything. So we look at ourselves as the last resort. We have to make sure that we are well, standing, upright, and healthy so that we can help in some sort of emergency. What that means is that we don't subsidize our children's lifestyle. we spoil the kids and grandkids, especially, because that's what grandparents are supposed to do. I think it's almost biblical. I keep looking for the verse. Somebody told me it was in there. I think it was in Second Hesitations or something like that, where thou shalt spoil thy grandchildren. Really rotten. But we look at it that way. I mean, I helped our kids a little bit with college. I did, but they paid a lot of their own way, and they earned scholarships or they worked or did things part time, but they got through it, and they didn't have a whole lot of debt, and what debt they had, they paid for. So sometimes you can give so much to the children that you put yourself in a position of not being able to help if something really dramatic does happen and they truly do need help. You can conjure up any kind of horrible thing and say, how are we going to help our kids get through that? You have to be financially and physically healthy to be able to do that. So I know this is maybe going to aggravate some people, but try not to subsidize your kids' lifestyle too much.
I think it was Bill Gates that it says that he wants to leave his kids enough so they can do anything, but not so much that they do nothing at all. It's one of those uber wealthy, rich folks that I heard said that at one point in time, and therefore they're giving away.
Warren Buffett says he's not going to leave anything to his kids. He's just going to leave them $400 million. Which in Warren Buffett's world, it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, well. Well, they're probably going to be okay. But number 6 on this list, and just a few minutes left to get to it, the 6th of 6 retirement killers, according to this Kiplinger article, blindly believing when your financial professional says you're going to be okay. Ron, how do you and your team there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners help this be more than blind faith and projections or assumptions? And when giving somebody that pat on the back, let them know that it's backed by more than just hope.
It is. I could say to anybody, well, come and join our firm and let's do the planning. Let's assume we'll have a 7 to 8% rate of return in the stock market for the next 15 years, which means you should be able to take out 4 or 5 and you're going to be happy and have more money. Don't worry, be happy. You're going to be fine. But how do you document that? It's just a bunch of gobbledygook, isn't it? I have no idea if the market's going to return that over the next 5 to 10 years. But here's how I can tell somebody, I think you're going to be okay. Because we established a written investment income plan in retirement. You know where every dime is coming from every investment, every security, every account. That's been set up to keep working no matter what the market does, goes up, goes down, taxes go up, go down, anything like that. You already have that in place. So then when people come and we do reviews, and with a lot of folks, we do 2 reviews a year, face-to-face. That's important to us, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not getting face-to-face reviews, give us a call, 616-301-2581. We believe in face-to-face reviews. And I know with the COVID thing, we're doing more Zoom stuff, but that still qualifies as face-to-face. It's important that you understand it. So if I tell somebody you're going to be okay, it's based on, we have an income plan in place. That income plan is working. It's going to continue working as far as we understand, no matter what happens in the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months in the market. It's going to be there. So I can look somebody in the eye and say, yeah, you're going to be okay. On the other hand, I've on occasion have to say to some people, we had this plan and you're spending way more money than we planned on. You can do that for a while, but trust me, if you keep doing that, you're going to hurt yourself in retirement. I've had to have that conversation with people. I look at it as my job. It's always your money, ladies and gentlemen. You can spend it any way you want. But if you're going to be our client, I'm probably going to tell you if I think maybe you're a little off course. Maybe you need to rethink something. Maybe buying that 225 horsepower bass boat when you already have 3 others is maybe an extravagance. So it's important to know that if somebody like me or my partner Nolan says you're going to be okay, there's some data, there's some backup there that really supports that. Or if we say you're not going to be okay because something's changed, you can see why. It's not just, I think you're going to be okay, kumbaya kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of analysis, if you're interested in that kind of help from a financial professional, and we are, give us a call at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We will be a great resource and help to you. So give us a call, 616-301-2581.
Well, again, if you need help, if you'd like to get that course to retirement plan, pick up the phone and give them a call at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. They are here as your resource, Grand Rapids. If you're serious about your planning, your financial future, you'd like that confidence, you'd like to have a map, that course to retirement plan, pick up the phone, give them a call, 616-301-2581. You have a certified financial planner, a CFP there as your resource. Take advantage. 616-301-2581. Ron, always a pleasure. We always appreciate the time and the guidance and perspective that you provide to those taking our planning and our financial future seriously in and across Grand Rapids. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed this. I like talking and helping people. So give us a call whenever you can. 616-301-2581. Other than that, have a blessed Sunday.
Talk to you soon.
Tune into Cornerstone Retirement Partners' full radio program, Your Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock at News Radio WOOD, or visit cornerstone-rp.com for many valuable resources, including those mentioned on this show and other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services.
Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes.